Hey guys, this is lesson number 1 of quotation rules. We have quite a few rules to go over and some vocabulary in this lesson, so please make sure you get those vocabulary words along with the definitions. Feel free to stop the video as often as needed and make sure that you come back and review this video as much as you can, because the more you see it, the easier it will be. Okay, rule number 1. You're going to use quotation marks before and after a direct quotation. And a direct quotation is just someone's exact words, or it can be their exact thoughts too. We've seen this in writing, I'm sure. This example sentence, if Janie says we are going hiking tomorrow, in the written form, it's going to look like this. Janie said. You're going to have the quotation marks, and then we are going hiking tomorrow in quotation marks, because quotation marks come in pairs. You have to have a beginning and an end. Now, if it's a thought, you're going to do exactly the same thing. You're going to begin the thought with quotation marks and end the thought with quotation marks to show that those were the exact words that he was thinking. Now, rule number 2. You are going to use a comma to set off, and set off means to separate a quotation sentence from the tag. So essentially, you're going to have two parts of the sentence. You're going to have the tag and the quotation sentence itself. The tag is going to tell who is speaking and then how those spoken words were delivered. And that is usually through words like said, announced, asked, and you see the rest there. So let's look at some examples of this. I've marked the tag in blue and then the quotation sentence in yellow. So your tag here is at the beginning of the sentence, and it says Janie asked. That tells who is speaking and how those spoken words were delivered. Well, she's asking. And then these are her exact words. Why do you want to go with us? Okay? In the next sentence, notice the tag location is at the end. But the spoken words say, it is 104 degrees outside right now. Those are the spoken words, and then the tag announced George. George is the speaker. How did he speak it? Well, he announced it. And then in the third example sentence, you've got the tag right in the middle. And yes, that is a possibility. The spoken words were, the Olympic rings symbolize the 5 parts of the world. And then how is it spoken? You have Susan as a speaker, and she began. And that just leads you to believe that she's going to say a lot more after that if she's beginning with this. So those are tags, and they should be set off. Notice each one of them is set off or separated by commas. You have comma after the tag, before the tag, and then here, because it's in the middle, you have it before and after. Okay, now rule 3. This is the most important rule that we will do, and that's your PQ rule. It's easy to remember because think alphabetically, LMNOPQ. It comes that way in the alphabet, so it should be easy to remember. And it means that you should use punctuation before quotation marks, before the beginning and in quotation marks as needed. So here I have examples for you of how you would write a quotation if it is a statement. So here, this is stated because I think you're super cool. You have an example of the PQ rule here. You've got to set this off. You've got to set the tag off. So you're going to use the comma and then the quotation marks representing the P and the Q. Here you've got, we've just flipped the sentence around. It's the same sentence, but we've put the tag at the beginning. So here you have a PQ rule at the beginning. You're going to set it off with a comma, and then you're going to have a PQ rule at the end. And you'll notice this is going to be a pattern. Here the quotation is a question. Why are you here? Asked April. You're going to have question mark quotations before you have your tag. But if you flip the sentence around where the tag is at the beginning, you're going to need to set off the quotation sentence, comma, quotations, and then end with question mark quotations. Let's look at the last set. You've got quotations if it's an exclamation. And here you have, she is my best friend, shouted Sonia. You've got the PQ rule here with an exclamation point and quotation marks. And then if we flip the sentence around with the tag at the beginning, Sonia shouted, comma, quotations. That's the example of your PQ rule. You have a comma and then quotations. That's P and Q. And then you're going to need another set at the end. Oop, you see the mistake here? Should that be a period? Not if she shouted. We're going to go all exclamation point there. So PQ, exclamation point, and quotations. So basically, you're going to have, if you have a tag at the end, you're going to have the use of one PQ rule, like in the first sentence of each example. And then if the tag is at the beginning, you're going to need two PQs, and that would be the second example sentence in each one of these. All right, so let's look at, all right, how would we punctuate these? How would you use punctuation marks in these sentences? So the first one says, Janie said, it's time for me to go. So we know we have to separate the tag. This is the tag, Janie said. So we're going to use a period. And then this is what she said. So we're going to give it quotation marks. It's time for me to go. I've ended my sentence with a period. And now I need to end the quotation with quotation marks. So that's how you would punctuate that. Now, what if we flip that around? It's time for me to go, said Janie. Well, this is what she said, so I need to put quotation marks around that, but I also need to set it off from the tag. And to set it off, I need a comma and then the end quotation marks. Said Janie, I've ended my sentence here with a period. Okay, well, what do you do if it's a question? Okay, you're going to go Janie asked, and you're going to set it off with a comma, and you're going to use quotation marks at the beginning of her said words. Is it time to go? That's a question, so I'm going to leave the question mark there. That's my P, and then I'm going to add my Q on the outside. I'm going to go question mark and then quotations. Okay, well, if you flip it around and you have the quotation sentence at the beginning, I'm going to use quotation marks here. Is it time to go? Well, that's a question. So I'm going to use question mark as my P, quotation marks as my Q, asked Janie, period, end the sentence. Okay? Because the question is here in the quotation, that's where my question mark will go. All right? If you look at the whole sentence is really a statement, which is why we put the period here. And then one last little bit of information. In this example sentence, I want you to notice that it really would not make any sense to take that comma and then put a period. The period has way too much stopping power to put it at the end of the quotation when you still have sentence left. That would confuse the reader, which is why we're going to use a comma in our statements if the quotation statement is at the beginning. That's to avoid confusion. Okay, So go back and review. Make sure you know what a tag is, what the PQ rule is, and make sure you do your practice, because that will definitely help.